all the haters last night, their storyline was that you were moving around a lot. Just
Boxing?
I know, I just don't get it.
I'm a little disappointed, but I also know how good he is.
How could he take it easy? The whole world is watching. There's not a chance he's going to make it look like this guy can box with him.
Can you imagine if Jake...
A significant difference, and ultimately, he did what he had to do to survive. He tried to sneak in some big shots, but in the end, the better boxer was going to systematically break him down, and that's what he did, and he got the victory. So I left that show on Friday thinking, this feels like a win for everyone involved.
Joe Rogan was reportedly stunned after hearing claims that Jake Paul plans to take legal action against Anthony Joshua following a knockout defeat. According to the rumors, Paul believes Joshua failed to follow agreed-upon guidelines during the fight. Rogan dismissed the idea, saying there was no chance Joshua would deliberately hold back. As a former world champion, Joshua's responsibility is to compete at full intensity. The suggestion that he would allow Paul to outmatch him in the ring was unrealistic, which made the legal claim sound ridiculous.
He's like very underrated, but he's a 2-time heavyweight world champion. He's like one of the fucking scariest guys in the division. Lightning fast punches. 245 fucking pounds. He's huge. He's way bigger. Way more skilled.
He's like a foot taller. What's that?
I saw him during the weigh-in. Reports are circulating that Jake Paul is thinking about taking legal action against Anthony Joshua following his knockout loss, arguing that the bout did not unfold as expected. Much of the discussion centers on the clear difference in size and strength between the two fighters, which many feel made the matchup uneven from the start. People familiar with the situation suggest Paul anticipated a more balanced exchange, but Joshua's natural ability and power quickly took control. The boxing world is actively debating the situation, with many doubting whether any legal claim would stand given the obvious physical disparity and how the fight played out.
Paul's filing a lawsuit and will be taking legal actions days after getting knocked out by Anthony Joshua. So Jake Paul, who suffered a broken jaw after fighting AJ, has had enough of people questioning his legitimacy. JP's manager, Nakisa Bidarian, who's also the MVP co-founder, revealed that they're cracking down and will be suing a number of people for false claims, aka defamation. Folks, claims of Paul and Joshua having an agreement that Anthony Joshua disregarded that eventually led to Jake Paul getting knocked out have been circulating online, henceforth the reason for suing these people who keep on saying that JP's fights are rigged, scripted, or fake. As for Jake Paul himself, well, he recently spoke to his brother Logan and confirmed that 4 titanium plates are in place due to his injuries, with their mother also confirming that
Ariel Helwani shared a composed and thoughtful take on the recent fight, explaining that there was little reason for concern or dissatisfaction. Despite the heavy media coverage and ongoing fan discussion, the match itself ran smoothly, without any significant problems. Helwani noted that the event was handled responsibly and that neither athlete suffered serious harm, which he emphasized as one of the most important indicators of success in major boxing matches. He explained that the outcome followed expectations, with both fighters showing discipline, control, and professionalism throughout. Their preparation and focus were clear, allowing them to perform at a high standard while prioritizing safety. Helwani's breakdown underscores that beyond the headlines and excitement, the event was managed properly, highlighting the value of structure, preparation, and responsibility in professional boxing.
On the biggest platform in the world, Netflix, ignoring the fact that Jake took on the biggest challenge he could possibly take on short notice. After Tank falls through, he goes and he's like, "Where's Francis?" "Okay, I'll go for the guy who beat Francis. I'll go for AJ." Ignoring the fact that, I think some people's stock were elevated on the undercard. Some of the fights on the undercard were really, really great. And ultimately, there isn't that much to be upset about. There isn't that much to be mad about. Netflix being involved in boxing is great. Jake stepping up and taking Anthony's best shots were great. I don't think Anthony looked bad at all. There were times where I felt like he was headhunting. There were times where I felt like he was trying to knock him out because I think he wanted to get rid of him. But you have to understand, when you have a guy who's running as much as he did and take shots at him or not for the game plan, that was his best way of surviving. It's like trying to chase a wet duck. you have to get him. And I think Anthony did actually a good job of pinning him into the corner sometimes, cutting off the ring, but it's hard to get a guy who's moving so much, who's clinching you, who's trying to do the antics that he was doing. That was the best chance for Jake to survive and then hope that he could crack him. He got tired, the ring was big, it was 22 by 22 as opposed to 20 by 20. There was a significant difference, and ultimately, he did what he had to do to survive. He tried to sneak in some big shots, but in the end, the better boxer was going to systematically break him down, and that's what he did, and he got the victory. So I left that show on Friday thinking, this feels like a win for everyone involved. This feels like a win for Netflix, a win for MVP, a win for Eddie and AJ and Matchroom. That's their guy. A win for Jake, and then a win for all the other fighters. I actually thought, in a way, it was the best of all the Netflix cards so far as the 3 MVP cards. People were a little disappointed with Taylor Serrano in the main event and the lack of action. People had their say about, Jake and Tyson and the streaming issues and whatnot. This was one that I felt like it was like, if you are looking at it, with a clear mind, clear conscience, no bias, check. That was my view. Now let me ask the team, what did you guys think? Rick, I'll start with you. I've not asked a single one of you what you thought. Rick and GC were in attendance. You guys were watching it. Didn't see you guys, by the way. I saw my mom and sister. I was looking for you guys. Couldn't see you. Was hoping for a wave. Was hoping for a little, how are you? Didn't see you guys. What did you think?
I think everybody did their part. I think you kind of touched on the fact that it seemed like everybody involved won. I don't know if I say that. I think you could kind of debate individuals, but I think everybody did their part. And for that, I mean, for the longest time we've been hearing, and the outcry has been, Jake Paul doesn't take real fights. We have to see Jake Paul in a real fight. That's the only thing that I care about. He doesn't take real fights. He only fights old people. He only fights this. He only fights that. He delivered. He put his nuts on the table and he said, I'm going to take a real fight. Not only am I going to take a real fight, I'm going to fight a former heavyweight champion with knockout power who just dispatched of Francis Ngannou 2 fights ago in a way that was quite devastating. I'm going to go in against that guy. So to me, Jake Paul held up his side of the equation. I kind of view these I didn't have high expectations in terms of the boxing product. I think of this like the way that some people used to say, like, I read Playboy for the articles. I don't watch Jake Paul fights for boxing. I watch Jake Paul fights for spectacle. Like, if you came in thinking that this was going to be a display of the greatest boxing you've ever seen, you're just misinformed. Like, I don't know what.
Looking beyond the action in the ring, the financial side of the event has also drawn attention. Reports suggest that Anthony Joshua has already paid a large share of his earnings in taxes, leaving an estimated $43 million to be divided between himself and his team. This highlights the realities of professional boxing, where even top-level athletes see major portions of their pay reduced by mandatory expenses. It serves as a reminder that the business side of the sport can be just as complicated and demanding as the competition itself.
His earnings for the fight with Jake Paul because he's a UK resident and the fight was in USA. He won the fight with Jake Paul, but USA and UK won him. For that fight, he's supposed to get $93 million. 37% of it went to taxes in USA, almost $35 million. Also around $15 million a tax to UK because the fight was not in the country. And if the fight was in UK, he would pay 3 times more tax. So from $93 million, he end up earning only $43 million. This is weird, guys. If the fight was in Dubai, he would get all 93 million. Here, the government supports you to make money, not to lose money. Anthony Joshua and all the other sports guys, contact me and I will help you.
Eddie Hearn offered a straightforward breakdown of how the match played out, stressing that it was handled honestly and without exaggerated drama. He explained that Jake Paul was aware of his own limitations and understood that defeating a top-level fighter like Anthony Joshua in a conventional way was highly unlikely. Because of that, Paul chose a careful game plan focused on minimizing harm while remaining involved in the contest. He depended on footwork, movement, and defensive awareness to limit Joshua's opportunities to land clean, decisive punches. Hearn noted that this strategy was not about taking control of the fight, but about lasting and managing risk in a smart way. His commentary highlights that both competitors entered the ring with clear goals and realistic expectations, balancing ambition with caution. As a result, the fight became a measured and strategic contest, shaped by professionalism and planning rather than reckless behavior.
Well, Jake was running and Jake was hold. But listen, I mean, at the end of the day, Jake had one job, and that was to try and survive. I mean, he was never, ever going to win the fight, ever. And if you would have said to me, do I think he'll go 6 rounds? I would have said absolutely not. I mean, I felt that it would take AJ a couple of rounds to get hold of him, because I knew Jake can move a bit and he'd be moving off the back foot and he'd be holding. But it was the way that he did it, I think, was actually quite impressive. Like, not that particular part, but the way that he would, the way that he was strong in the clinch. He wouldn't let AJ get his shots off in the clinch. He made him miss a few times. And obviously AJ's been out of the ring for a while. But to be honest, I think the most fascinating thing of the whole night in terms of the fight was how he didn't get flatlined by that right hand. I mean, I said going into the fight, it's probably going to take AJ a few rounds to get hold of him. And I also said, as soon as he lands clean, the fight's over, right? He landed a few before, but the first that he landed really clean was the final shot. But, he never flatlined Jake. I mean, he did break his jaw in 2 places, which is a disaster. But there are a lot of heavyweights that would have been out cold from that right hand. I mean, one of them was Francis Ngannou in a pretty similar shot, really. Do you know what I mean? So I actually give Jake unbelievable credit for doing it in the first place, but his performance as well. I mean, I stand by the fact that I think he's just a decent cruiserweight, but he did go in with Anthony Joshua, and look, the world is full of criticism and opinions and negativity. Who else is doing what he's doing at what is he, late 20s? I mean, quite phenomenal. I mean, the guy's a complete madman. I'm watching him come out to that ring walk, and he's just a...
Simon Jordan delivers a pointed and thorough assessment of Anthony Joshua's showing, focusing on the high standards expected of a fighter with his credentials. He notes that Joshua entered the bout with the ability, strength, and experience needed to take charge early and potentially end the contest quickly. However, Jordan argues that Joshua did not make the most of those advantages, as he was unable to close the fight in the opening rounds. According to Jordan, this stands out as a missed opportunity, since early finishes are often seen as a sign of control and sharp execution at the elite level. While Joshua's skill set and career achievements remain unquestioned, his failure to secure a decisive outcome when chances were available invites discussion about his timing, choices, and effectiveness under pressure. Jordan emphasizes that no fighter, regardless of status, is exempt from close analysis, and such moments are carefully examined by fans and experts alike. His critique highlights how, in boxing, missed chances by top competitors can influence public opinion and spark broader conversations about expectations at the highest tier of the sport. Next 6. Commentators have shared their views on the debate surrounding the match, responding to claims that the outcome may have been predetermined to favor Jake Paul. While some of Paul's earlier appearances have fueled similar speculation, experts agree that this event stood apart. Anthony Joshua entered the bout carrying significant responsibility, driven by both public expectations and his own professional standards. The focus and seriousness he brought into the ring made the idea of a manipulated result highly implausible. Analysts explain that suggestions of a planned outcome do not align with Joshua's discipline, preparation, and commitment to delivering an authentic performance. The match reflected a legitimate test of ability, clearly revealing the difference in experience and overall capability between the two competitors.
And clinging to AJ's legs. At one point, the referee had warned the pair of them. The fans didn't pay to watch this crap. Joshua finally imposed himself by knocking down Paul twice in the 5th round, delivered the knockout blow, boom, in the 6th, and broke his jaw reportedly in 2 places. After the fight, Gareth A. Davis caught up with Joshua.
People will criticise you for going 6 rounds with Jake Paul. How do you feel about that?
I deserve it.
Why? Come on.
Because, we're elite fighters. So I put myself in the shoes of a coach. If I was coaching Anthony Joshua and he went 6 rounds with Jake Paul, I would get him back in the gym tomorrow, give him a bit of a beating, and we're getting straight back to work, because I'll be like, how are you letting this kid take you 6 rounds? Are you crazy? But I can't go back in time.
Well, they've come out of it a whole lot richer. Reportedly £165 million richer between the two of them, with Jake Paul earning more than Joshua. That apart, Spencer, 6 rounds to get Paul out of there. Reputationally, how does it leave AJ?
Well, thankfully it didn't go to points, because I think that would have been a disaster for Anthony Joshua. I think that he needed to get the job done inside the distance, and he done it. Look, he could have done it at any given point. I think that he could have cut the ring off whenever he wanted to and got Jake Paul out of there. He took his time on that. He allowed Jake Paul to run around like a rabbit and throw the occasional shot from time to time. And I think he only landed 1 clean punch, didn't he, Anthony Joshua? And that was the one that broke his jaw in 2 places.
But, I mean, you said, did you not, to us in this very studio the other day, he's got to get him out of there in round 1.
I did.
Otherwise, what are we seeing?
Exactly that. And I think what we saw there was a little bit of entertainment. And that was pretty much it, but not entertainment that many people enjoyed, if I'm honest. I think that people wanted to see a demolition job.
I do not think that this fight was rigged. I think what happened was that, number one, Anthony Joshua had a lot to lose. If he got reckless and he got caught and KO'd in the early rounds, that would have been the most embarrassing upset in all of boxing history. Now, it's easy to sit on a couch and watch him and say, well, he still should have done it. But no, you're going to be more defensive, you're going to get a read, and you're going to try and understand how the guy's moving. Now, this is where I could see why it was difficult in the early rounds for Anthony Joshua. Jake Paul did not fight like a boxer. Jake Paul did stuff that, in my opinion, should have gotten him to lose a point or some kind of warning. He was doing double leg takedowns the entire fight. He wasn't throwing punches, he was running and circling, and then the second Anthony Joshua got close to him, he would shoot in on him with a double leg. Okay, now, sure, that works for an MMA fight. It was a nice example of how you can get by a boxer's punches numerous times. It also exhausted him. He must have shot in at least, no joke, 30 or 35 times in that fight, which is just absurd. And again, I think that's what threw off the pacing of the fight and made Anthony Joshua look a little bit awkward in the early rounds, because he was keeping distance. He didn't want to get caught with that overhand right. And then as he stepped in, every time he closed the gap, Jake Paul would just shoot in and get into tight range, like clinch range. And very good strategy for self-defense, by the way. From a self-defense perspective, what we can learn from Jake Paul is, even if you're fighting a guy who's massive compared to you, who is a world-class boxer and mega athlete, that it's very hard to KO you if you just keep shooting in on them when you're getting into range. If you just, the second you're in punching range, you shoot in. It's a strategy that's worked in MMA. Now we see it worked against a
Chris Algieri and Paulie Malignaggi offered an in-depth review of Jake Paul's performance, drawing on their experience within the sport. They acknowledged his athletic ability and movement, but noted that his core boxing fundamentals are still underdeveloped, which limits his ability to control tempo and position effectively. They explained that his footwork and defensive awareness have not yet reached the level required for top-tier competition. According to their assessment, speed and evasiveness alone cannot make up for shortcomings in technique, timing, and strategic understanding. Their evaluation suggests that while Jake has shown moments of promise, there are still notable gaps in his overall development as a boxer. Algieri and Malignaggi concluded that without continued growth, structured training, and more experience, his effectiveness against skilled opponents will remain restricted, leaving him vulnerable to recurring challenges during matches.
It's just lack of experience, but when you're that much of a novice, you either know how to run for your life or fight all out. You don't have that in between yet. You haven't developed enough of that in between boxing acumen to really pull that off. And so what ends up happening? You're either going to fight your ass off and you'll last a minute. Chris, you're being generous. Round 2, he would have got knocked down round 1 if he would have fought. But at least he would have fought. He would have gotten the respect of the people and more importantly, the boxing community instead of these clowns that follow him and are still defending him. Now what happens is you didn't get any respect as a fighter. You didn't get any respect as a fighter because you didn't try to fight at all. If he would have, I was watching that through 2-3 rounds. I'm thinking to myself, this guy would do this for 8 rounds if he can. If he can do this for 8 rounds, absolutely not fight at all, absolutely not engage a single time in 8 rounds, he will actually do this. And he'll do it shamelessly. And that's the problem. That's the problem. The shamelessness.
True Geordie presented a thorough analysis of the bout, explaining why he remained calm from the very beginning. He said he had a strong understanding of how the contest was likely to play out, which allowed him to stay measured and focused. Early in the fight, Jake Paul relied heavily on constant movement, circling the ring and using his agility to stay away from Anthony Joshua's power. While some observers, including Paul's promoter, pointed to the size difference as the main factor, the match soon exposed a deeper issue. The gap in experience and technical skill between the two fighters was impossible to overlook. True Geordie noted that while movement may help a smaller competitor last longer, it cannot replace solid fundamentals or bridge the gap against a world-class opponent.
What was going to happen before the fight even took place. That's why he was so calm. And that's probably why in the first few rounds when Jake Paul's buzzing around like a fucking little bee, this is going to slow down. I'm going to get to you. And I said beforehand, the fitness, AJ is going to be fitter than you. Because normally when you're the smaller guy, you might have technique or speed or fitness. AJ is going to have it all. And once Jake stopped running, it was obvious. Like AJ was actually fitter than him as well because he could keep that pressure up for longer. And it's funny because depending who people like after this, the narrative is going to be completely different. For example, Jake Paul's promoter said it wasn't a skill thing, it was a size thing. I was like, well, no, like once Jake Paul actually was forced to fight, the skills were worlds apart. But he did well to land a couple of punches. Like, I'm not going to take that away from him, and I think he should be fucking, proud of that he did land on AJ. He might have even won a round. That's something he could fucking take to the fucking grave. But let's not kid ourselves. If Jake Paul had have stood in front of Anthony Joshua from the first round and